To this day, I honestly have no idea or explanation what, why, or how this happened, but I will never, ever touch the game again. It has haunted me for the longest time, and I will never go back. To those who have never played the game, I'll try to keep the beginning description as brief as I can. The rest of you can have your nostalgic moments. If you've ever owned a PC to play games on 10 years ago, you must be familiar with the game The Sims. However, if you've played the game enough, you'd know that it could also get a little too creepy for your liking. For instance, whenever all your Sims are asleep, on random nights, a burglar would appear. When this happens, you can hear a very creepy tone that gives you a tingling shiver throughout your body as he creepily walks towards your property. Of course, if you've done the Rosebud cheat, you'd have the burglar alarm installed inside your house for sure, and it would go off as the burglar nonchalantly walked into the nearest door he could find. It's as if they don't let you install a lock on those damn things. Then, the police would arrive and arrest his dumb ass. You would then get a reward apparently for catching a wanted criminal, which is nice. But the same creepy tone plays when your Sim misses work or gets fired from it. Another example, when a fire occurs, a tone similar to the burglar music plays, except it's possibly 3 times creepier. The firemen would arrive and your Sim can help attempt to put out the fire. After the fires are out, the firemen just walk away like nothing happened. Your Sim acts like nothing happened either. That is if nobody was killed during the fire. If someone was killed, the Grim Reaper would arrive and do his thing over the dead body. You can use your Sim to beg him to bring the dead back to life. If your Sim is happy and mostly green on the needs, you can gamble against the Reaper and you'll most likely win, thus saving your dead Sim's life. If the begging Sim has mostly red, the Reaper will turn him down and a tombstone will appear in the dead Sim's place. Now that you have the gist of it, here comes one of the most haunting moments I've ever had in my life. I really wish this would never have happened to me. It was the winter of 6th grade when I was staying up on a Friday night playing The Sims. It must have been around 10:30 p.m. I got bored with just playing with my rich, happy family, so I decided to go to my spot home to the miserable family I created for some fun. It was home to many tombstones scattered in random places. Just based off of that and the fact that my Sims had names of people and kids I didn't like back then, you could easily tell what I had been up to. I always chose the spot to conserve memory. One even had the name Osama bin Laden, who I killed with a firework rocket. Ironic, right? So, I'm going through the Sims. All of them have red needs bars. I decided to make these 2 guys fight and beat the crap out of each other. I made one kid stay in an isolated room with only a bookshelf to see if he'd actually read a book out of cabin fever or other sick things like that. However, there was something odd about this particular Sim who I would especially torture to my liking. After a while, Sonny, the tragic clown, arrived to the house. He's basically a miserable clown that comes to your house if your Sims are too miserable for an extended amount of time. He spends his time walking around trying to do tricks that fail miserably, crying, coughing like a guy who smokes 3 packs a day, and pissing off your Sims. He just makes your life suck until you get rid of him. Now he would be the worst victim suffering under my wrath. Everyone would always just beat the crap out of him and insult him. I had other Sims torture him like there was no tomorrow. I just thought it was funny. For every time I was waiting for a Sim to complete a task, I would do something to make Sonny miserable. I even made someone call the Sim with my actual name, let's call him John, to come over so John could beat the crap out of him too. Eventually, Every sim started hating Sunny so much that they would attack him or insult him automatically. Now, I thought it was pretty funny at the time. It got up to the point where I just loved seeing Sunny miserable. John was able to attack him, and that's not normal because when I created his personality traits, I gave him a full nice meter. Sims with high nice meters only have commands which are courteous to other people, like hug, give gift, flirt, or compliment. Even so, I just brushed it off, not bothering to think anything of it. Sunny became the symbol of everything I hated. At this point, my mom told me I should go to bed soon. I should have listened to her. This is where all the mayhem begins, starting with the worst mistake I ever made. After a while, I got sick of messing with the clown and couldn't stand hearing him cry all the time. I did everything I could to make him leave. Making the Sims slap him, insult him, telling him to leave, nothing worked, so I figured it was time to get down to business. I set up a firework inside the house, launched the rocket and let it crash down, which started a fire. The bone-chilling music started playing. I had the doors taken away and timed how long it would take for them all to die in a fiery death. One of the women were the first to go as she started screaming and flailing her arms helplessly. Then one of the guys were caught in the spreading blaze. Eventually, the Sims started cooking and the fire reached Sunny, who also began flailing his arms and screaming. I felt a sense of evil pass over me as I gave my computer screen a morbid gaze along with a sadistic smile. The same smile you'd expect a kid to have when he's burning ants with a magnifying glass. But another feeling passed me alongside the evil feeling. Something just wasn't quite right. I've watched Sims burn before, and they've all flailed their arms in the same ridiculous way. This time was different. The Sims seemed to scream in no other way I've known before. Their cries weren't as if they were being funny stepping on hot coals, but as if they were calling for help. Begging for help, begging and pleading like they knew I was there and was the cause of all this madness. What really got to me was that they were screaming at a louder volume than I thought I had my speakers at. They were turned pretty low as it was, but I quickly turned the volume down a little more. I had a strange feeling from this and a slight bit of fear, but I attempted to shake it off. Then, my time of humor was short-lived. After I was apparently doing nothing to help them, their cries really invoked the pain, sorrow, and suffering. Looking around the fire, 2 of the Sims had already fell to the ground while others were still flailing in vain. 1 or 2 of the Sims seemed to be looking straight at me, calling for help. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought they were facing me because that's how they were facing before they were caught in the blaze, but then, as I skimmed across the house, there was Sunny. He too was facing me. But he was different. Something about him wasn't right. He was flailing his arms like a maniac. He was screaming like the Joker, except much more sadistic. The way he was shrieking and wailed kind of made me feel scared. Plus, it was cold, so I shivered a little. He was facing me directly and giving me that creepy, clownish look. This type of look that Sunny was giving me was a glare of insanity in the purest form. I never knew if he was supposed to look like that, but he did. It was as if he was staring into my soul through the computer screen. His morbid face was full of disbelief, anger, depression, rage, and heartfelt hate. His blank, beady clown eyes were facing perfectly with me. Never have I seen such powerful emotion from a video game character, let alone many at once. Hell, I've never seen someone in real life give me that type of stare. Then he stopped. Just like that. Like he was just standing at idle, although he did not shake the evil look upon his face or the fact that he was being incinerated. It must have been a glitch, I thought. Just then, I heard a camera shutter noise. It was the screenshot camera going off automatically. It usually does that whenever something eventful happens while you're playing. So I clicked save and clicked on my photo album to check to see what it was. And it was a picture of Sunny inside the fire. The caption said something like, "Got that darned clown," which I found to be funny but more eerie because of the situation I was in. There, in the photo too, he was doing the same exact stare. It filled me with such a creepy, grim feeling that I clicked out of it right away. I thought about it and clicked on the photo album again and deleted the photo. The game lagged a bit. Then, without warning, the clown photo sprung up again. It might have just been me, but the photo appeared to be slightly zoomed in. I clicked the delete button. Nothing happened. I got frustrated and clicked it again repeatedly. Then you could hear the clicking get slower for a second and stop. The game froze. At this point, I was quite freaked out. I was trembling. I could feel all of my pores bumping up against my clothes as a chill ran down my spine. I ducked under the desk, reset the computer, and booted the game back up. I then remembered that I completely forgot to check the time after the Sims died. It was 11:30 p.m. Still having the chills, I decided to play the game again. But something was odd. There was no sound during the intro, and the colors seemed to have a weird tone to it. All the flamboyant colors seemed to combine into one and filter the screen. Every color was either purely red, white, blue, yellow, or green. It just didn't look normal. I felt like my monitor was going bad. The conga music wasn't playing during the loading screen either. Just blank nothingness. When the map appeared, I checked the speakers because there was still no sound. I turned them up, but still nothing. For some reason, I decided to go visit what was left of the family I had just slaughtered. When I got there was nothing left. Everything was burnt, and the ashes were scattered about. There were tombstones inside the mediocre building. I looked to where Sunny had died, and I found nothing. Nothing but a painting on the wall was there. It was a painting of him that you can buy from the store. I really regret taking the closer look to see it because now I saw what looked like him in a much creepier state. It was depicting him in a dark shade. He looked as if he was staring someone down. I decided to play as my happy family to get my mind off things, so I went to the menu and clicked to go back to the map. Now, I have no idea if I just got a glimpse of it or it's been like this the whole time I wasn't looking, but for a quarter of a second, I felt like the face of the clown in the painting looked up at me. Getting another one of those chills, I selected my happy family. The house that I constructed for them was specifically designed to have very similar architecture to my actual house, if not exact. It was nighttime in the game. I even had the one kid turn on the cartoons to make myself feel better. But here's when the strange part started. The other kid decided to interfere with the cartoons and put it on the horror channel. I kept trying to switch back to the cartoons, but he would just keep changing it to the horror channel after 5 seconds. So, I just sent the kids to bed and had everyone go to sleep. Time sped up since nobody was doing anything. Suddenly, a message popped up saying, 3 more days. And that creepy burglar music blared out of my speakers. It took me so unexpectedly and by surprise that I jumped back in my seat, making a huge thump. I forgot that I had it that loud. The coldest shiver ever turned into a spasm of panic and fright. Next to the message was Sunny's face staring at me straight in the eyes. I was so frightened I couldn't move or respond but stare for 2 seconds. My heart must have skipped a beat, as it was beating faster than ever before. I took the mouse and clicked the crap out of the OK button. Of course, just my luck, the game froze, and I was left to suffer through Sunny's face, staring at me. I was about to reset the computer when the message finally went away. Thank God. I turned on the buy menu so I could hear some calming music, except I turned the volume down a lot, so I couldn't hear it. It was glitching or something. Maybe the music wasn't working properly. Eventually, I went about my business as usual, doing everyday tasks while still freaked out about the message. Then, the next night when I sent everyone to bed, that haunting message appeared again. The music didn't play at first, so I thought it didn't go off. It did. There was just a delay to mess with my head and throw me off. It didn't scare me as much, but it still creeped me out. Nothing was different except this time the message said, 2 more days. Terrified, I got out my CD player and played some music to cheer myself up. All to my convenience, the batteries died in the middle of a song. That really didn't help at all. Still, I tried to push on. To this day, I don't know why I wasn't too deterred to press on, but I did it anyway. I went to sleep, quite restless, thinking too much. Maybe if I just let the game go for a night, it'll all go away. My younger brother was also addicted to the game, so I decided to ask him if he knew anything about it. I even accused him of doing something to mess with me. He just responded by ridiculing me, saying that I was just making it up to scare him. I believed him when he said he didn't know about it. Besides, I was kidding myself to think an elementary school kid could figure out how to do something like that, even before I could. Especially not that well planned out. I also attempted to look it up online, and I didn't find anything. The next night of the game, which I was playing Saturday night this time, the same thing happened except the message said, 1 more day. The tense, spine-chilling music blared out of my speakers again. How? I don't know. This time I had my speakers down almost all the way. The only thing that could have made it more silent was if I muted and unplugged the damn thing. I didn't bother to even look at Sunny's face, but out of my peripheral vision, it seemed as though his mouth was open in a very devilish way. And then the damn game lagged again, and I looked out the window until the message went away. It really didn't help that the game seemed to be getting me ready by displaying a clown on the TV, a random clown picture that I have no recollection of putting on my wall, and a bush outside that looked like a wig. Trust me, you would have to be there to see it, or else you would have no idea. This really was a sick joke. I was thinking, who could have done this? Why would they? I was only 12 years old. It's not like they could see my reaction to get any enjoyment out of it, so why do it? Is it even a joke? I proceeded to go about my Sims' daily business when they woke up. I bought a bunch of new stuff for them and touched up a few things. I also sold the clown painting for $1 and replaced the TV. I tried to do everything I could to keep the clown out of my head, out of sight, out of mind. Things looked up a little bit from there. At this point, there came the worst and scariest time of my life. My heart would have beaten a Kenyan runner on steroids in a heartbeat race. No other moment haunts me like this does today. In all sincerity, paranormal times like these are a turning point in life. A message popped up while everyone was still awake. This time, it wasn't the burglar music that played. It was the fire music. It shrieked out of my speaker so loudly because I wasn't expecting it. It struck fear into me as if I just got punctured by 1,000 needles. My spine tingled so much, I was petrified. I might as well have hit rigor mortis. There it was, the message. It had Sunny's face on it, which seemed to have a demonic smirk. When I read the message, I could feel myself turning pale. My body felt like it was shutting down from the neck down to my whole body. My eyes widened without my control. Believe me, If you could ever feel your pupils dilate, this would be the time. The message said, "There's nowhere to go. He's here." I tried to click build mode, but it wouldn't let me. It was as if the burglar came and it didn't let you do anything. I got my sim and his wife to go somewhere inside the house so they could escape. Once I got them in order, I realized something. The kids were playing outside. Oh no. The next thing I know, one of the kids run away to the backyard while the other just stands there and stares while his back is turned to the sidewalk. I didn't want to watch, but I just couldn't look away. Sonny appeared, slowly creeping down the sidewalk. The kid just stood there like he had no idea what was going on. The clown walked until he was on line with the kid and then turned towards him. He walked towards the kid, and I tried to get him to run away or something. Anything that would get him away from that goddamn clown. I must have clicked the mouse over 40 times per second. Nothing. Then the most horrific thing happened. As if the clown was a burglar, he went over to the kid, and the kid disappeared. Right when he disappeared, the burglar music shrieked. An image flashed on screen for a millisecond, but I couldn't make it out in time. Sonny was then holding a sack just like the burglar. I couldn't believe my eyes. My jaw just fell open involuntarily. I didn't even feel or notice it much because my body was just so numb with fear and panic. I watched in horror as he walked after the other kid who was running around the house. To my surprise and awe, Sonny did the smart thing and went back the other way, towards where the kid was running around the house. There was no hope. The kid ran right into him around the front left corner of the house. He too was scooped up into the sack along with the burglar music playing. The image flashed on screen again. I couldn't make it out, but I know for sure it wasn't something good or something I'd like to see. The clown then proceeded to not walk but run out of the scene. As if it wasn't creepy enough, those Sims run really fast in a jolty-like motion. My other Sims stood in the house doing nothing until the clown from hell was gone from the scene. Then, all of a sudden, my Sims darted out of the door towards where the kids were taken and started screaming in horror. An expressive speech bubble that symbolizes a loud noise appeared above each of their heads. Nothing was in them. Now, I've heard Sims scream before, but again, this was different. The screams were blood-curdling, despair-inducing, terror-striking, and very realistic. My speakers weren't that old, but they definitely could have not produced a sound of that quality. It seemed like a small person was actually inside the speaker screaming at the top of their lungs. The Sims began to sob and cry in their hands. Likewise, it was a very realistic sounding sobbing. I could literally put the speakers under the desk and you would think that somebody was under the desk crying like they were living in complete purgatory. The image from earlier flashed on screen again and I managed to press print screen just in time. God help me, if my timing was just a tiny bit off, then I wouldn't have to see what I just screen capped. At this point, I was on the verge of tears. My vision was blurring, my lips trembling. I was shaking violently, but I could not take my eyes off the terror. I was even whimpering like a scared baby. I lost it. I fell off my chair and I had to get out of there. I went to go listen to some music. When I got back with my CD player in hand, my original plan was just to quit out of the game. I was done with this crap. I didn't care if I had to play another stupid child's game for the rest of my life. I just wanted this game off the computer. I got back in about 15 minutes. I noticed I hadn't paused the game. Touching my mouse caused me to scroll down just to see what was happening. There was only one sim left. That sim was the one with my name on it. The wife was nowhere to be found. None of their faces were available in the navigation bar, except for the remaining sim. He was just standing in front of the house staring blankly at nothing. The music played again. Sonny was back, coming to get the last of what he started. I wasn't in the mood for dealing with this anymore. I had the sim call the police, then walk out of the back door and go to the left. Not to mention I muted my speakers for real this time. Sonny walked into the house nonchalantly like he knew I was just there. He creeped around the living room, dining room, the kitchen, and a little bit of the family room. It was like he was looking for him. After searching around and finding nothing, for some odd reason he decided to touch the TV and it broke instantly. Then he sat on the couch watching it like there was something on. After a moment or two he stood up abruptly. It was like he just had a sudden thought. He proceeded to walk out of the back door and go the same way my sim did. I quickly commanded my sim to walk around the front and towards the back. Sonny followed him. Finally came the worst part. Since the architecture of the house is just like my actual house, the computer room is upstairs and in the back right corner. My sim was walking around the corner towards the back, with the clown walking about the same speed. But here's the scariest part. Once my sim reached the back left corner of the house, Sonny was beginning to reach the back right. I heard something outside. I didn't dare push aside the curtain, so I just listened. I listened hard. The whole time Sonny was walking around the back right, I could hear footsteps silently crunch on the ground outside the window. It was around what seemed to be like the same spot. When Sonny stopped to turn left, the footsteps outside stopped and they too sounded like someone was turning around. Then, they just continued once Sonny started walking again. The footsteps outside slowly faded out. I couldn't do it anymore. I lost it and went absolutely ballistic. I force switched off the computer. I ran and opened the door to my mom's room crying while so scared. I leapt into bed and under the covers in one motion and I would not come out. I started crying. My mom woke up instantly concerned. It was too hard to talk at the time, so all I managed to say was that I was scared and I wanted to sleep here. The next morning, my brother was playing the game, asking why I had just left the computer on without pausing. I stared at him for a second, then just walked away. Once he got off, I took the disc out and put it away. You have no idea how much I wanted to smash it into pieces and put it in the trash, but I would have gotten in trouble for it. But then I remembered how I screen capped the image. The computer was on all night long, so it couldn't have forgotten the copied image. I opened up Microsoft Paint and clicked paste. The image that came up was horrifying. If I can remember correctly, it was a picture of Sonny. He was standing on the same spot where he died. It was a closely zoomed-in image. He had an obvious smile on his face that showed rotting gingivitis-ridden teeth, round to sharp points. It almost resembled Pennywise. That was it. I deleted the image and took out the game. To this day, it still haunts me. I still question what it was. As Stephen King says, eliminating the word how is what really gets to you. Such an unexplainable event occurred and baffles me. Why did my speakers go off even though I muted them? Why did the footsteps stop after I turned off the computer? Why did Sonny decide to mess with my head? Why did it have to be after I tortured him for so long? I guess sometimes things can only go so far until they snap. If you're ever wondering what happened after, here's something I find really strange. I logged onto the game about a couple years ago, and from what I remember, all the houses in the game were wiped clean as if I never built a house or did anything there. It was a bit unsettling looking at an open field which was once the domain of houses I created. All that was left was an eerie graveyard in place of the house I used to torture the Sims. I have never touched the game since.